Would you like to grow your wealth and confidence with money without having to work harder and stressing all the time? Well, it might just start with looking back at some of your earliest money memories and finding the gold in them. I'm Ellen Rogin, and I help people stress less, have more confidence, and create more prosperity on purpose without having to work harder. What we think and say to ourselves around money makes a huge difference in terms of what shows up in our lives. Our unconscious beliefs, thoughts, judgment around money are formed at an age much earlier than we could possibly imagine. Actually, by age 7, most of these subconscious beliefs are formed. So when we're little itty bitty people, our beliefs around money are starting to be ingrained and they impact us throughout the rest of our lives. And most of the time, these go unexamined. And we think it's just learning more about money, being a better budgeter or investor that makes a difference. But what's operating in the background, what you believe about money, what you think to be true about money, is really running the show. Now, it's easy if we start to examine this to think about what didn't go well when we were growing up, lessons we learned that weren't helpful from our families, our home of origin when we were really little. Now, it's easy to go back and blame your parents or whoever was there with you when you were little growing up for all the things that aren't working well in your finances. And there's things that happened that are probably really helpful for you as an adult now. It could be things you saw and heard growing up that were really good lessons. Or it could be things that you saw growing up that you don't want to replicate as an adult. And to go back and really examine what was really good about what you learned or saw or heard growing up around money is so helpful because it helps instruct what we can feel really good about as an adult. I was teaching in a workshop once, and there was a mother there with her 2 daughters on each side. And when we had them go back and look at their earliest money memories, one of the daughters said, "You know what? My mom always spent money that we didn't have, so I'm really responsible with money now." So something she saw she didn't like is helping her as an adult. And the other sister said, "My mom never worried about money, so I don't worry about money." And that sister learned that money wasn't something to worry about. Both of these are healthy views of the exact same situation. I know in my house growing up, my dad used to save pennies, literally would save pennies in these big mason jars. And subconsciously, that taught me that small amounts matter. I remember taking the pennies out and putting them in piles and counting them. Who knew I'd end up becoming a CPA later in life by counting pennies? It also showed me that all these little pennies add up to larger amounts of money. And I do believe that helped me become a better saver as an adult. So think back for yourself. What is something you saw or heard growing up around money that has been really helpful for you? This question came right from one of the Money Talks cards. This one is, what positive ideas, lessons, and habits about money did you learn from your upbringing that influence your current relationship with money? This is one of the mindset cards in the Money Talks card deck. These are 48 conversation starters around money. And that idea of what positive lessons did you learn is a beautiful one for you to contemplate or journal on. Perhaps that question is one you could talk about with a business partner or a good friend or a romantic partner. Because the more we learn and have deeper conversations around money, the better it works in our lives for us. So what positive ideas, lessons, and habits did you learn from your upbringing that influence your current relationship with money? So go ahead and journal on that. Write that prompt out and just start writing and see what comes to mind. Because the more we know our strengths, the more we can grow on that. And if there's an area that's less than excellent, once we identify that, it's much easier to move past that. I'd love to hear in the comments below something that you learned has been a wonderful support to your financial life as an adult. So go ahead and put that in the comments below, something you've identified through this activity. If you'd like to find out more about the Money Talks cards, there's a link to that below. And if you found this helpful, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to have more videos on how to increase your confidence, lower your stress, and really deeply have a much better relationship with your money.